Pain's Rinnegan. The Rinnegan is the most legendary dojutsu, a power that once belonged to the Sage of Six Paths himself. But in Pain's case, it wasn't something he was born with. Madara Uchiha secretly implanted these eyes into Nagato when he was just a child, setting him up as a pawn for future plans. With this divine power, Nagato created what became known as the Six Paths of Pain, an ability that allowed him to control 6 different bodies as extensions of himself. Through these vessels, he could unleash devastation upon his enemies without even stepping onto the battlefield himself. Inoichi Yamanaka once compared this technique to the mind-body switch jutsu of the Yamanaka clan, but on a much grander scale. While the Yamanaka could possess a single target at a time, Nagato could manipulate 6 corpses simultaneously, coordinating their movements with inhuman precision. Each of these bodies served a specific function, forming a team that complemented each other perfectly. Pain's strength was terrifying, but his philosophy is what truly made him unforgettable. If you've made this far, I want to thank you all for helping us reach 4,000 subscribers at the moment. We really appreciate your support of our channel. Our next goal is 10,000, and while we know there's always room for improvement, your feedback means a lot to us. We still need your support, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it. Thank you for enjoying our video. Now, prepare your chakra and follow us. Connection to Buddhist mythology. The 6 Paths of Pain were not just random corpses Nagato picked up. They represented the 6 realms of reincarnation in Buddhist teachings, each symbolizing a different fate in the cycle of life and death. Deva Path, Heavenly Realm. Controlled gravity, allowing for techniques like Shinra Tensei, Almighty Push, and Chibaku Tensei, Planetary Devastation. This was the strongest path, and the one that embodied Yahiko. Asura Path, Demonic Realm, modified the body into a mechanical weapon, capable of launching missiles and forming extra limbs. Animal Path, Beast Realm, summoned powerful creatures, allowing for overwhelming battlefield control. Naraka Path, Hell Realm, used the King of Hell to interrogate and revive fallen paths. Human Path, Human Realm, extracted souls from enemies, instantly killing them. Preta Path, Hungry Ghost Realm, absorbed chakra-based attacks, rendering ninjutsu useless. Each of these paths had one specific ability, but together they were nearly unstoppable. The strongest of 6 paths. Among the 6 paths, Deva Path, Yahiko's body, was by far the strongest. This was the one that truly embodied Nagato's power and philosophy. Its most feared ability was Chibaku Tensei, Planetary Devastation. This technique trapped Naruto when he was in his 6 Tails form, proving how devastating it was. Even Sasuke, after obtaining the Rinnegan, later copied this ability, reinforcing its godlike status. The Peacemaker. Though Pain ruled through fear, he was also the stabilizing force that held Akatsuki together. The organization was filled with criminals, each with their own twisted motivations, and internal conflicts were inevitable. Despite his cold exterior, Pain often took on the role of a mediator, preventing personal rivalries from tearing the group apart. One notable example was the ongoing friction between Hiden and Kakuzu. Hiden, a religious zealot, constantly clashed with Kakuzu, whose greed and short temper made him quick to anger. Pain stepped in as a neutral force, ensuring that their differences didn't escalate into something that would compromise Akatsuki's mission. This wasn't out of kindness. Pain understood that Akatsuki needed order to function. Without a strong leader keeping them in check, the group would have collapsed long before it could enact its plans. A strange sense. It's easy to see the 6 Paths of Pain as nothing more than corpses, lifeless tools Nagato used to impose his will. But there was something deeper beneath the surface. Nagato still showed care for them, particularly for the Deva Path, which used Yahiko's body. Despite being just a husk, Nagato ensured that Yahiko's body remained in perfect condition, treating it with a level of reverence that bordered on devotion. In many ways, Yahiko never truly died for Nagato. Every time the Deva Path spoke, it was as if Yahiko's spirit was still there, leading Akatsuki, guiding their vision. This attachment was both a source of strength and a wound that never fully healed. The rain stops on Sundays. Nagato may have convinced himself that he had moved beyond emotions, but his actions betrayed him. Every Sunday, the endless rain over a Megakure would stop, a silent acknowledgement of the day Yahiko died. This was Nagato's private mourning ritual, a rare moment where he let himself grieve. To the people of a Megakure, it might have seemed like divine will, their god granting them a day of peace. But in reality, it was one of the last human things about him. Even in his coldest moments, even after killing thousands, he never forgot Yahiko. The influence of Obito. Nagato's journey was filled with contradictions. He claimed to be a god, yet he was manipulated like any other man. At first, both he and Yahiko rejected Obito, Tobi, sensing something sinister in his intentions. They believed in their own path to peace and refused to become someone else's pawns. But after Yahiko's death, everything changed. Grief consumed Nagato, leaving him vulnerable. Obito seized this moment and slowly steered him toward a darker path, convincing him that true peace could only be achieved through suffering. Nagato, once a boy who dreamed of ending war through understanding, was now an instrument of terror, spreading the very pain he once wished to erase. In the end, Pain was never truly in control. He thought he was shaping the world, but all along, he was playing into the hands of someone else's plan. It was the ultimate irony. The god of a Megakure, Isai, the man who claimed to transcend human weakness, was just another pawn in the cycle of hatred he despised. Ideals and reality. Nagato's story is one of tragedy, a tale of a dreamer who lost his way. He started with hope, believing in Jiraiya's teachings, wanting to build a world without suffering. But the world broke him, twisted his ideals, and left him convinced that the only path to peace was through domination. Despite everything, traces of his old self remained. In small moments, like his devotion to Yahiko, his role as a mediator, or even the rain stopping once a week, we see glimpses of the boy he used to be. But in the end, those fragments weren't enough to save him. Nagato was not born as Pain. He became Pain, a man who turned his own suffering into a weapon, hoping that by making the world hurt as much as he did, he could finally end the cycle of hatred. Master versus Student. One of the most emotional fights in the entire series was Jiraiya versus Pain. It was a heartbreaking clash between a teacher and his former student. Jiraiya, believing in his duty as a shinobi, infiltrated a Megakure to uncover the truth about Pain. What he found was far worse than he ever expected. The young boy he once trained, the child who clung to dreams of peace, had become a merciless god ruling over an entire nation. But despite the horror, Jiraiya refused to run. He chose to fight, hoping that he could stop Pain before the world suffered his wrath. For the first time, Pain unleashed the full extent of the Six Paths technique. Jiraiya fought bravely, even managing to defeat 3 of the bodies. But the moment the remaining paths appeared, the battle became unwinnable. Pain overwhelmed him, crushing his throat and impaling him with chakra rods, leaving him mortally wounded. Even in his final moments, Jiraiya's will never broke. With his dying strength, he carved a coded message onto Fukasaku's back, giving Naruto the key to defeating Pain. And just like that, the man who once trained the greatest shinobi of his generation sank into the depths of a Megakure's waters, his life ending at the hands of the very student he had once saved. It was a victory for Pain, but a loss that would set the stage for his ultimate downfall. The day the leaf fell. If there was ever a moment that proved Pain was beyond human, it was his assault on Konoha. Unlike most enemies who infiltrated or used strategy to weaken the village, Pain walked in alone. He didn't need an army. He was the army. One of his first and most devastating acts was his battle against Kakashi Hatake. Kakashi, one of Konoha's strongest, fought with everything he had, even using his Mangekyo Sharingan, but it wasn't enough. Pain overpowered him, eventually striking him down with a chakra rod, ending the battle. Kakashi, a shinobi who had survived countless battles, met his end against Pain, a testament to the sheer difference in power. After dealing with the strongest shinobi one-on-one, he turned to the village itself. With a single Shinra Tensei, he erased Konoha from existence. Buildings crumbled, entire streets were wiped out. What once stood as the proudest village in the shinobi world was reduced to nothing in an instant. Even Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, was helpless against him. She used all of her chakra to protect the villagers, but she could do nothing to stop the destruction. By the time Pain's assault was over, the hidden leaf was gone. The massacre of Hanzo's bloodline. Pain wasn't feared because of Hanzo power. He was feared because of his absolute ruthlessness. After killing Hanzo, the former ruler of Omega Corps, Pain didn't stop there. He knew that as long as Hanzo's legacy existed, there would always be someone to challenge him, so he made sure that never happened. Nagato systematically eradicated every single person connected to Hanzo. His family, his friends, his allies, none were spared. Even those who had the slightest association with Hanzo were hunted down and executed. By the time Pain was done, Hanzo's entire lineage was erased from history. Redemption through death. After his battle with Naruto, after witnessing Naruto's unbreakable will and hearing his words about Jiraiya's dream, something inside Nagato changed. The conviction he once had, the belief that peace could only be forged through suffering, began to crack. For the first time in years, he questioned if he had truly been on the right path. Then, in a moment of true redemption, Nagato made the ultimate sacrifice. He used the outer path, samsara of heavenly life technique, an ability that allowed him to revive everyone he had killed in Konoha. The same man who had brought death and despair was now giving life back. But this technique came at a cost. Nagato's body couldn't handle the immense chakra drain. He knew it would kill him, yet he did it anyway. In the end, he didn't die as a god, nor as a villain. He died as Nagato, the boy who had once dreamed of peace. His death marked the end of pain, but it also marked the rebirth of hope. Through Naruto, his dream would live on. And though he had walked a dark path, his final act proved that he was never truly lost. Nagato never wore the Akatsuki cloak. Throughout the series, members of Akatsuki were known for their signature black cloaks with red clouds, a symbol of their shared identity. However, there was one major exception. Nagato himself never wore the cloak. Instead, he remained hidden within his mechanical tower, connected to a massive structure that amplified his control over the 6 paths of pain. Meanwhile, each of the 6 paths wore the Akatsuki robe, representing the group in Nagato's place. This small but symbolic choice reinforced the idea that pain was more than just one person. It was a collective entity, an unstoppable force that acted as the face of Akatsuki, while the true mastermind remained unseen in the shadows. The original pain design. When Masashi Kishimoto first conceptualized pain, his original sketches were drastically different from what we see in the final series. Initially, Pain was designed to wear a mask with demonic horns, emphasizing his mysterious and godlike presence even further. However, as the character developed, Kishimoto decided to remove the mask. Instead, he chose to focus on Pain's piercings and unique facial structure, making his Rinnegan the centerpiece of his design. This shift made Pain even more intimidating, as his piercing gaze and lack of visible emotion gave him an almost divine, otherworldly aura. Pain's music. Gire. Few anime themes capture the essence of a character as perfectly as Pain's theme, Gire. This chilling track, composed by Yasuharu Takanashi, plays during Pain's most iconic moments, from his assault on Konoha to his declaration of divine justice. What makes Gire so unique is its monastic, chant-like quality, giving Pain an almost religious presence. The song's deep, echoing vocals resemble a solemn prayer or a funeral hymn, reinforcing the idea that Pain saw himself as a god, bringing salvation through destruction. The melody is both tragic and imposing, reflecting the weight of his philosophy. Meaning of Nagato. The name Nagato is not just a random choice. It carries deep historical and cultural significance. There are 2 possible inspirations for his name. The Nagato battleship, a famous Japanese warship from World War II, known for its immense power and resilience. Given Nagato's role as a warrior who sought to reshape the world, this connection makes sense. Fujibayashi Nagato, a historical ninja associated with stealth and strategic warfare. This ties into Nagato's ability to manipulate the battlefield from afar, using his six paths instead of engaging directly. Both interpretations reinforce the idea that Nagato was a figure of immense strength and tactical brilliance, someone whose presence could change the course of history. Rinnegan coloring mistake. Even legendary characters aren't immune to animation errors, and Pain was no exception. In the Kazekage rescue arc, when Pain first appears, his Rinnegan is mistakenly colored blue instead of its usual grayish-purple hue. While this was later corrected in subsequent episodes, it remains one of the more noticeable animation inconsistencies in the series. Fans were quick to spot the mistake, as the Rinnegan's distinctive color is one of its most recognizable traits. The voice of the six paths. When Nagato created the six paths of pain, he ensured that each body spoke in Yahiko's voice. This was a powerful symbolic gesture, reinforcing the idea that Yahiko's will was still alive, leading Akatsuki even in death. However, there was one exception. When the animal path was replaced with a female body, it was the only one to retain its original voice. This small but significant detail set it apart from the others, making it feel less like an extension of Yahiko and more like a separate entity within the group. The Hidden Rain's Chunin exams. Though Akatsuki was a criminal organization, Pain still maintained the Hidden Rain's presence in the shinobi world. During the Chunin exams, he sent genin from the village to participate, ensuring that a Megakure remained relevant. This was a way for Pain to keep an eye on Konoha and other villages without revealing his true involvement. It was a rare moment where his leadership of the Hidden Rain and his control of Akatsuki intersected in a non-violent way. Nagato's chakra sensory abilities. Pain wasn't just strong because of his Rinnegan. He also possessed incredible chakra sensory abilities, which allowed him to detect disturbances in his village from miles away. This was how he immediately knew when Jiraiya infiltrated the Hidden Rain. Even without his six paths, Nagato's ability to sense chakra signatures made him nearly impossible to sneak up on, adding yet another layer to his overwhelming presence. The birth of Pain. One of the most heartbreaking moments in Naruto is Yahiko's death, a moment that shattered Nagato's belief in peaceful change. Yahiko didn't die in battle. He wasn't defeated by an enemy. Instead, he chose to end his own life, impaling himself on Nagato's kunai so that his friend wouldn't have to choose between him and Konan. That moment was the turning point. The kind-hearted Nagato died that day, and in his place, Pain was born. From then on, he believed that peace could only be achieved through absolute suffering. A shrine of paper flowers. After Nagato and Yahiko died, Konan refused to let their sacrifices be forgotten. She took their bodies back to a Megakura and built a shrine, laying them to rest on a bed of paper flowers. This was a final act of devotion, a silent promise that their ideals would live on even if they didn't. It's a poetic image. Two fallen warriors resting in the village they fought so hard to protect, surrounded by the delicate paper flowers Konan created with her own hands. Thanks for watching till the end. See ya!